James Carpenter with Country Living. Welcome to my channel and thank you for watching my videos. Today we're leaf blowing. It is an annual event. It takes a considerable amount of time. This video is approximately 24 minutes long. And it's a very small segment of the actual leaf blowing that I will do on the property this fall. I'd like to talk a little bit about the property. I've owned it for 48 years. It was basically farmland when I purchased it. I purchased it from my parents in 1974 and developed everything you see in these videos with my two hands. I came from a family of seven children and two parents. Fortunate enough to have the same two parents the entire time. My dad was a World War II vet. He fought the Germans and was there on D-Day, the initial invasion into Europe. He never talked much about the war. Unfortunately, I would have liked to have heard his stories, but I'm sure they were things that he's seen that he didn't want to talk about. I'm 99.9% sure of that. But my dad was a hard-working man. He was a union electrician. He, well, actually, before he was a union electrician, he spent several years working as a civil servant for the Air Force, and he traveled abroad. So his first station was an island called Guam, and he had four children there. He had the first three children in Nelsonville, Ohio, and had the balance of four of us on the island of Guam. And from Guam we moved to Morocco, and from Morocco we moved to Tripoli, Libya, Wheelus Air Force Base. So at age 11 my dad decided to give up the civil service job, come back to the United States and become a union electrician. And that's how he supported his family. But he was a very hard worker, and he obviously did everything himself. Built houses, built barns, and us children were basically his helper bees, and we learned a lot of trades. And because he was an electrician, he would do side work and take me out, and I actually learned the electrical trade. He wanted me to become an electrician, but my interest was in cars. I really liked messing with cars, and eventually wound up running my own auto repair shop, which is what I do now. I learned carpentry, electrical, a little bit of plumbing, and all this from my dad. So I'm pretty handy with my hands, which helps out tremendously with the whole concept of country living. So to get back to purchasing the property in '74, at that time I was in the Army, I enlisted when I was 18. That was another thing with our family. When you turned 18, you obviously had to leave the nest, so to speak. And my two older brothers, they joined the military. Both wound up in Vietnam, unfortunately. My third brother, third one down, he moved out and never joined the military. And then when I turned 18, I had no clue what I was going to do. I didn't know how to live on my own, how to go out and get an apartment, do any of that. So I raised my right hand and I joined the Army. It was at the tail end of Vietnam, fortunately for me, so I didn't have to go. I did my 2 years and re-enlisted and got the bonus. They were paying big bonus money back then. And I always used like that bonus money to make improvements on the property. Not at that time. At that time, I used it to pay off the property. And then after 6 years in the military, I worked as a prison guard, which was a fairly good paying job with the state. And I always worked a lot of overtime. I've got a history of being a hard worker. I think that came from my dad. He worked us pretty hard all the time, and I've never stopped working hard. I'm always busy doing something. But anyhow, all the overtime, I used all the overtime money to invest into the property and built basically what you see today. After leaving the reformatory, there's Honda of America started a car manufacturing plant in the early 80s, and I actually got hired in the first group for the auto plant, so I got to watch the very first car come down the line, and it grew from there. And I spent 8 years at Honda. I walked up the ladder there. I became what they call a production coordinator, which is a salary position, and I was in charge of export shipping. So all the Hondas going overseas, it was my responsibility to ensure the quality of those vehicles. While at Honda, I also worked a lot of overtime. Now, being a workaholic and working all that overtime allowed me to put together the country living, the acreage, to build the buildings, to put the well in, to put septic systems in, to do all that. It's been quite the journey, and probably the only thing I regret is I worked so much that I didn't get to spend quite as much time with my kids as I should have, but I did give them as much time as I possibly could. You wouldn't believe how many times I would be on the lawnmower with a young child, 2 years old, 3 years old, sitting on my leg and riding on a lawnmower with me. I know today people would probably think that's dangerous, but I never dropped any of my children off the lawnmower. But they grew up riding a lawnmower with Dad, and in those days the lawnmowers were not what they are today. It took me a lot longer to mow grass back then than it does now, but I still got the job done. And just so much with the country living thing. I really enjoy the fact that I actually turn 68 next year, and for a 68-year-old man, I still get out there and I blow the leaves, I mow the grass, I weed eat. I'm still very active in the yard, And the auto repair business, for years I ran that myself. I worked myself into a heart attack, unfortunately. But I did all the administrative. I just, work. And then within the last couple years, I made a move that I should have made years ago. I had my wife, she quit her job and she started working for the business. And since she started answering the phones, estimating jobs, and doing all that, the business has flourished. I got to be quite honest with you. I'm not saying I didn't do a good job, and to be quite honest with you, I spent a lot of money going to some expensive training schools for automotive shop owners and learning exactly what it takes to run an automotive repair business. And to be quite honest with you, I'm very knowledgeable that way. I could honestly be a consultant and help other people with their shops. But that's not where my passion is. My passion is right here in the yard, blowing leaves, mowing grass, weed eating, putting chemicals down on the yard, putting fertilizers down on the yard, just making things green. I feel very blessed that the Lord has blessed me with this plot of land and allowed me to make it green. I got one little spot here on earth that I take care of for the Lord, and I keep it nice and neat for Him and others. And the number of customers that come onto our property and just praise the looks of the facility, it's amazing. So to keep everything up, it does require quite a bit of income, actually, and the business does generate a good income. But to be quite honest with you, I'm looking at other income sources besides the automotive repair shop. I feel that there's potential to do even better. So the course of running this business, obviously for 30 some odd years, I've had to deal with taxes and tracking tax write-offs and basically finance. So I developed spreadsheet systems of doing all that, and I kept telling myself, if this was a program, I could sell it and make a lot of money. So I put that thought out there to the ether, and it did come back in a positive way. I had a gentleman stop out at my shop, and he wanted to invest in my business or have investors invest into my business, and I wasn't really interested in that. So I told him about the finance program, and he was able to connect me with a retired professor from a college down in Cincinnati, and he computer science or whatever, I'm not sure what his degree is, but he writes programs. So him and I have been working on a program, an accounting and finance program, not only for auto shop owners, it'll work for lawn care businesses and so on, but because I'm familiar with the automotive repair industry, I'm going to start it out with auto repair shops and then eventually expand it out. But the program is very simple to operate. It's It's an alternative to QuickBooks. Actually, I tried QuickBooks over the years. I believe that you would probably have to take some training courses to really understand QuickBooks. It's a little too complicated. It was more than I wanted to deal with. But the program that I've developed is much simpler. And once that hits the market, that'll be a cloud-based program. It'll be sold as a monthly fee to have the program, and I anticipate that really generating a good income for stability in the future for me, and to leave something behind for my children. I have another project in the works too. We're going to call this multiple income sources. A friend of mine is a fireman, and we both agreed that addresses are very difficult to locate, especially at night and in the dark. So him and I have had an idea. It's called emergency response number. It's your mailbox number will flash, or your house number on your house in the case of an emergency. It can be tied in with your existing security system, but the bottom line is it's to enhance the ability of the responders to find your house much quicker, because your house number's flashing very bright red for a medical or fire emergency, or blue for a police emergency. So that's in the works. So I got a lot of good things happening in my life right now, and they are going to start to mature here soon. And obviously I've got this YouTube channel. There's a lot of people that actually do good on YouTube. I started the YouTube channel because I wanted to leave something behind. You know, after we leave this world and we go to a better place, my grandchildren or great-grandchildren can go on YouTube and see what their grandfather was all about. So I thought that was a good idea to have the YouTube channel to kind of document what Grandpa was up to in his lifetime. So I believe that's a pretty good idea. And obviously, with a little help from my subscribers, I could also generate decent income from YouTube. So in my latter days, I may be able to stop being a workaholic and take just a little bit of time off to enjoy some traveling. Be honest with you, I did a lot of traveling when I was young. I did a lot of traveling when I was in the military. I did a lot of traveling when I worked for Honda. So I've been to several different countries, and I've seen a lot of the world, which is more than a lot of people get to do in their lifetime. But I was able to do the majority of that at an early age and in my young adulthood. Should I talk a little bit about the leaf blowing? Maybe. But, you know, you've obviously watched me blow quite a few leaves. As I sit here right now, I think about the leaves that need blown now. I almost went out there tonight and did that rather than edit this video, but I'm glad I edited the video, because I believe it came out pretty decent for my viewers to maybe get to know me a little bit better, and basically just to, you know, give you a little bit of content, a little bit about myself. I have 3 children, My oldest son was born in the early 80s. 3 years later, my daughter was born. And then about 10 years later, with a different wife, my youngest son was born. He was actually born in 1996. My oldest son has one daughter, and my daughter has two beautiful children, a boy and a girl, which gives me 3 grandchildren. My youngest son claims he's never getting married, so I don't know what's up with that, but we'll see how that pans out. My oldest son, Joe, he's worked in the business with me excuse me, for many years. He's my lead technician. He's similar to his dad. He's a workaholic. He's a good worker. If he works on your car, I can guarantee you that you're getting a good quality job and getting it done right. My daughter, actually, I sent her to California to one of those automotive training schools because she also worked in the business at the time, and she was my service rider, but she met a shop owner out there, and they ended up getting together, and my daughter moved from Ohio to Alabama. So we have a long distance relationship now. But she's doing good down there with her husband. And they run a shop. They primarily work on Volvos. They're doing well. I think the video is going to be coming to a close here shortly. I just wanted to say that I appreciate everybody out there. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to watch my YouTube videos, or in particular this video. I spend a lot of time myself on YouTube. I prefer watching YouTube over regular TV. I've got quite a few YouTubers that I follow and enjoy watching their content. So with that being said, I'm going to close the video down. I was just informed by my wife that it's time to eat, so I'm gonna grab a bite to eat. I'm going to leave you with some silence here in the end of the video. It looks like I ran out of fuel. I ran out of fuel, but I did fill it back up, and I did blow for a couple more hours after what you're seeing here. This is the end result, and obviously you can see that there's still leaves on the trees, and those leaves are still falling, and I'll be out there blowing for several more hours to clean it up and keep it looking good. Thank you for watching my video. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. That would help me build my channel. And have a great evening.